Hello everyone, this is a video about reacting badly to glutathione and whether that indicates there might be mold exposure going on. Just before jumping into the body of the video, if you don't mind taking a quick moment to please like, share, subscribe, and or post a quick comment on this video, I'd really appreciate it. So thanks in advance for taking a second to do that. And also nothing that I'm saying in today's video should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. So the question today reads as follows. I'm reacting badly to glutathione, but I moved out of my old house and I'm with my mom now. Does this mean her house has mold too? I should also note that the hurts me too came back high at 36. I'm in all caps very sick. Is it possible I just have too much mold in me? So thank you for the question. I'm sorry to hear that there's been all that going on with your health. It sounds really, really rough. Being very, very sick is awful. So I hope you're feeling better soon. Again, can't give any direct advice over social media, but I'll give some information, which is hopefully useful in a roundabout way. So if a person is suffering from mold toxicity, sometimes taking glutathione will make them feel worse. And that person could be living in a moldy house, not living in a moldy house. There might be mold that's colonized their sinuses and is releasing mycotoxins into their body, so they might be feeling worse from taking glutathione, even not being in a moldy house. So for better or for worse, feeling poorly when taking glutathione does not mean that it's related to being in a moldy environment. Now, for some folks, that might sound surprising because they might be thinking, oh, if I'm not in mold, then how could I be mold toxic? But unfortunately, there are research studies indicating that mold is able to colonize the sinuses. So if a person's been in a moldy environment, whether it's a workplace, their home, some other place that they spend a lot of time, then those mold spores can actually colonize their sinuses, and then they unfortunately turn into a walking mold incubator. Their sinuses are a mold incubator, and then those mold spores are releasing mycotoxins into their body on an ongoing basis. So a person could be living in a moldy house, working in a moldy environment. They're in there for a certain period of time. They move out of that place because they're getting sick or life brings them somewhere else in the world or whatnot. They leave that place and they unfortunately bring the mold with them. So again, reacting negatively to glutathione does not, people can react negatively to glutathione for a variety of different reasons unrelated to mold, but it's not a kind of pseudo diagnostic test to determine if somebody's actually in a moldy environment or not. Just for clarification for folks listening, so the question mentioned, I should note that the hurts me too came back high at 36. If you're listening to that thinking like hurts me too, like it's like a bad 80s song or something, or like what's a hurts me too? It's a weird name. So hurts me is an acronym, and I don't remember the exact words in that acronym off the top of my head. It's very similar to an ERMI test, ERMI, a little bit of a less strange acronym. ERMI is an acronym for Environmental Relative Moldiness Index, which is, as the name indicates, an indication of how moldy a person's environment is. Hurts me too is similar, just using somewhat different technology, if memory serves, and it's just another way of scoring how moldy is a person's environment. So that's what that is in reference to. So if a person does have a lot of mold in their body, a lot of mold mycotoxins in their body, they can definitely feel worse from glutathione. There's other reasons, though, that folks can feel worse from glutathione. It really depends a lot on their history, their clinical history, but also the types of symptoms they're experiencing. Some people feel worse from glutathione because they're reacting to the sulfur that's in glutathione. Glutathione is a very sulfur-rich compound. That's largely why it's able to have its detoxification enhancing effects, because it's involved in phase 2 detoxification reactions in the liver through these sulfation reactions. But some folks don't process sulfur-containing compounds very well, so that's one reason a person could potentially react to glutathione. It could be because of other toxins that are built up in the person's system at levels that are too high, and as they're taking more glutathione, it's causing their livers to flush out toxins faster than they can get rid of them. So yes, that could be true of mold mycotoxins, could also be true of heavy metals, could also be true of other like environmental chemical exposures like glyphosate or organophosphates or VOCs or other things like that, phthalates, etc., etc. So those are a few different reasons why a person might react negatively to glutathione. So again, not specific to mold, but it's not an uncommon thing to hear in folks who are dealing with mold toxicity. And so for an individual who's in a moldy environment and they're feeling unwell from glutathione, like it's reasonable to draw that conclusion, but it's not a 100% definite reason why that person might be reacting to glutathione. Generally in my practice, when folks are reacting negatively to glutathione, unless it's related to something like a sulfur intolerance or a sulfur sensitivity, a sulfur processing issue, then I find that it's usually an indication that we need to get more foundational support in place before we bring the glutathione in. So we want to make sure that we're supporting the phase 1 liver detoxification reactions, which is usually achieved by basically taking a B complex and a mineral complex, so like a good potency multivitamin, multimineral will usually do the trick. Really important to make sure that those the vitamin B12 and the folate are methylated forms of the B vitamins, because methyl groups are important for lots of things in the body, including phase 1 detoxification reactions. And then it's also important in some of those cases to, I'd say a majority of those cases, to make sure that we have the detoxification pathways working well, so the patient's bowels are moving regularly, bladder's moving regularly, or the kidneys are processing and producing urine, and bladder excreting the urine regularly. If possible, patients sweating on a semi-regular basis is good, although some folks are too sick to be able to say do exercise or tolerate saunas or things like that to tolerate the sweating process. And then we also, in these cases, will semi-regularly need to work with a binding agent, something like cholestyramine or Welcol or activated charcoal or bentonite clay or chlorella or diatomaceous earth or humic acid or fulvic acid, or one of the many binders that are out there to actually bind up the toxins that have been processed by the liver and squirted out into the small intestine through the action of the biliary system and or gallbladder. Not everybody has a gallbladder, but we all have a biliary system, and that's sometimes necessary. So there's several reasons why a person might not tolerate glutathione, but getting the right infrastructure in place can make that glutathione well tolerated. And with that being said, I have had some patients where, try as we might, we just cannot seem to get them to tolerate glutathione. I have patients where they'll just take one drop of glutathione liquid, a very, very small amount, and they react to it. And sometimes it's just not in the cards, although in the majority of cases, we are able to get them to the point where they can tolerate the glutathione. If they can't tolerate glutathione, it's really a big indication to me either that they're very, very sensitive, and we need to maybe work on some other things first, maybe use some low-dose allergen therapy, maybe do some amygdala retraining, things like that, or it's an indication that we just really need to get that other infrastructure in place because they're just so darn full of toxins, they just can't tolerate that glutathione yet, but eventually can get to the point where they will. So thank you for the question. Again, I hope that you're feeling better soon. If anybody has any questions or comments on this topic, please post in the comment section below. And if anybody has any questions about complex chronic illness in general, please post in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer as soon as I can.